Hi, I was working in a service company some years ago. As the company's profit started falling, the management wanted to improve productivity. And to this end, they brought a campaign to do 50% more with 50% less. They said we can achieve this using lean principles. While the campaign failed, I got hooked to the idea of lean. The concept of lean comes from manufacturing, but now it's not limited to that anymore. Various organizations like hospitals, restaurants are now using lean principles. Even the software development systems like Agile derive their concepts from lean. So let's get started. Let me begin with a question. Can you tell what are two things common in these vehicles? Yes, they are all taxis and all three of them are of Toyota make. Toyota vehicles are popular as taxis not just in India but in various other countries like Indonesia, Hong Kong, England. In fact, a recent survey done on Uber drivers in US showed Toyota Prius as their favorite car. So what makes Toyota the preferred car for taxi drivers? Is it cost? Perhaps. Is it fuel economy? Maybe. But the most important reason for this is the reliability of Toyota cars, its quality. So, how does Toyota make such highly reliable car? The answer lies in its manufacturing system, the Toyota production system, which is popularly known as lean manufacturing. So, what are the benefits of lean manufacturing? The improved quality in lean is because the employees are innovative and quality conscious. They constantly look for improvements which they call Kaizen or continuous improvement. Lean also leads to improved lead times, and we'll see this how it happens in the subsequent slides. Lean also leads to better sustainability as the wastages are low. Employees in Lean are highly satisfied and motivated as there is no unnecessary work. So how does Lean achieve all this? It happens through a 5-step process as shown here. These are define values, map value stream, create flow for value, establish pull, and pursue perfection. We'll discuss each of this in the subsequent slides, but before we go any further, we must look at the history of lean. The history of lean is closely linked to the history of manufacturing system of the auto industry. Automotive production started with craft manufacturing. Here, manufacturing was an art performed by skilled craftsmen. Since there were no standards, no two cars were alike. Everything depended on the skill of the craftsman. Reliability and consistency were almost non existent. The cost and the delivery time used to be very high, so these cars were like trophies of the rich and the famous. The car shown in the picture was designed and manufactured by Panhard and Levasseur, a French company. Craft manufacturing was very limited, and therefore automotive manufacturing was not considered as large industry then. But this changed with the arrival of Ford. Ford introduced production of standardized cars through a means of production now popularly known as mass production. The first step towards making this was making identical individual parts. The work was then divided to the lowest level such that each worker would find his or her job very simple. Therefore, skilled craftsmen were no longer required and these jobs could be done by unskilled workforce. This was a powerful concept. A set of unskilled workers delivering the latest of what technology had to offer. Lastly, assembly line was introduced which helped in faster production. Mass production became the dominant form of manufacturing and quickly spread to other industries as well. Here is a picture of Ford's first mass-produced car, Model T. Ford used to sell this car only in black color and their salesmen would say, any color you like provided it is black. Ford's popular assembly line also has a very interesting story. In the beginning, the cars were assembled at one place. So the cars used to be stationary and the workers would move around. Then one day, Ford visited a slaughterhouse. He saw there that the dead animals were tied to a hanger and were moving, while the butcher would stand at one place. He then imagined the same for his car manufacturing, where the car can move and the individual workers can perform their job, standing at their place. This is now known as moving assembly line. The moving assembly line almost led to doubling of the productivity. As mass manufacturing and Americans were gaining ground in the automotive industry, the people in Japan didn't want it to be left far behind. However, World War II had devastated Japan. Japan's market was small and fragmented. The domestic companies could not employ mass manufacturing techniques directly, so they had to invent something original. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Lean evolved as a coherent response to this challenge. It evolved as a dynamic process of learning and adaptation. So when Japanese companies started making cars using lean, their share in the world market started going up steadily. The oil shock of 1973 helped this further, and by late 80s Japanese were the dominant car manufacturers of the world. Soon the Western world wanted to understand the manufacturing process, and this led to the formation of International Vehicle Program at MIT. Interestingly, the term lean was given by a Westerner. John Krafcik went to study manufacturing system at Toyota. He thought that the Toyota production system was lean. When he came back, he wrote an article, Triumph of Lean Production System. This is how lean got its name. This research was further carried by Dr. James Womack and his team under International Motor Vehicle Program at MIT. At the end of this program, Dr. Womack wrote a book summarizing his findings. This book was titled The Machine That Changed the World. So now that we know about the origin of lean, let's try and understand what it is. What are its goals? So what is lean? Lean goals are simple. We should have zero defects, zero delays, zero accidents, and zero inventory. Absurd, isn't it? Something impossible. But if you are pursuing perfection, you can only have such goals. And lean tries to pursue perfection. Vince Lombardi, the famous American football coach, has said, "Perfection is not attainable, but when we chase perfection, we can catch excellence." Let's now try to understand lean with an example. Suppose that you are a shop floor in charge and you find oil on the shop floor. What would you do? Pause this video for some time and think for a moment. I can tell you what I would have done. I would have cleaned the floor, and then I would have inspected the machine to find out why it was leaking and then repair it. Let us now see how we would have responded if we had learnt about 5 whys concept from lean. In this method, a series of questions using why are asked. The idea is that if you ask why enough number of times, you can reach to the root cause of the problem. In general, asking 5 times are enough, and hence the name 5 whys. So let's apply 5 whys to the oil puddle problem. With each step of questioning, there is a countermeasure also given. So you see the oil puddle on the floor and you clean the floor, and then you ask the question, why was oil on the floor? So you get an answer, maybe because the machine was leaking. So you inspect the machine and you find that there was a problem with the gasket. The gasket had deteriorated. So you replace the gasket. This is where I had stopped. But now you ask a third why. Why has the gasket deteriorated? And you get an answer. Because the gasket material was of inferior quality. So you go back and change the gasket specification. Now you again ask the question, why was the gasket of inferior quality or inferior material? That's because we're getting a good deal on them. And when you ask why again, you get to the root cause. Why we were chasing a good deal? Because the purchasing agents are evaluated on short-term cost saving. So what we need to do is change the evaluation policies of purchasing agents. As you can see, a simple problem of oil on the floor has its roots in the policies of the company. That's the power of asking 5 whys. Let's get back again to the 5-step process of lean and look them more closely. The first step is to define value. Value is actually defined by the customer. It is what customer derives satisfaction from, and it is the most difficult piece of the puzzle. You need to be very close to the customer to understand this. Next is the value stream. It is relatively simple. You need to map out the entire process required to transform inputs into value. The third step is to make the value creating steps flow. This is very important concept and not so easy to understand. You need to imagine value, which is a product in case of manufacturing, move in a direction. In just one direction, there should not be any backflow. The value should move from inputs to the product, the final product. Customer pull is basically to say that you produce only if the customer needs it. And as we have seen earlier, pursuit to perfection is a continuous process. So how do we measure value then? In simple terms, value is what customer is willing to pay. Let us consider this through an example. Suppose that you come up with a special glass material which does not break and it costs $5,000. But when you ask your customer, they are only willing to pay a $5 for it. Then the value of this product is $5, no matter how much does it cost to you. This is the basic difference between value-based pricing and cost-based pricing. As you can see here, in cost-based product, we develop a product, we find out its cost, and then we put some margin over it and come up with a price. However, this price may or may not be acceptable to the customer. If he perceives that the price is lower than the value he derives, then probably he is going to buy it. But there is an inherent flaw in this process because customer is asked to pay based on cost, and your cost may include value as well as waste. So there is no process of elimination of waste as long as the customer is willing to pay. Now let us look at value-based pricing. The value has been defined by the customer. Now he's ready to pay a price for it. What we need to do after this is to find out how to make this at a cost which is less than the price the customer is willing to pay. The difference between the price and the cost then becomes our margin. As you can see here, there is less scope of wastage because you are producing exactly what the customer needs. So now that we know value, let's see how to create a value stream. Suppose that you are an alloy wheel manufacturer. The value in this case is your alloy wheels. Let's say that you get metal as input and you cast and machine them and finally assemble them. If your casting and machining happens at two different places, this would roughly be the flow of work. The alloys will be cast in a particular shape. Then they will need to be transported to the machining location. There could be delays in arriving of the cast product and hence there will be waiting time. Once the cast material is there, then you will need to set it up for machining. Then you will perform machining. Once machining is done, then you will need to check if it has been done properly. And then finally you will assemble them. According to Lean, there is only 3 value creating work which is being done here. Rest all of them are waste. Look carefully and you are likely to agree. Lean divides all work into 3 categories. Those which create value. So from the previous example, these would be casting, machining and assembly. Then there is type 1 moda. Muda is a Japanese word for waste. Type 1 mudas are those activities which cannot be eliminated just yet, but these may eventually get eliminated based on the technology we are using or if there is any innovation. Type 2 muda is those waste which must be eliminated. So from the previous example, transportation, waiting, inspection, these are wastages that can be and must be eliminated. Once you have mapped value stream and eliminated wasteful activities, you need to create flow. Let us try to understand flow through this example. Suppose you have a plant for making bicycle frames. You prepare frames from tubes. This involves tube cutting, deburring, tube joining, frame welding, frame wash and frame paint, and then assembly. You have separate department for separate work. So here the tube doesn't move in one direction. After tube cutting, deburring, it goes back and forth. So the flow here is not in one direction and there's a lot of backflow. Also, you can see there are three inventories here: tube stock storage, work in progress storage, and finished part storage. How would this system look if it was based on lean principles? In lean, work is organized based on flow of value. So in case a particular type of work is needed twice, it should find two places in the flow. For example here, deburring is needed both after tube cutting and after frame welding. Hence it appears twice. In lean, value or product can never flow backwards. There are significant benefits which can be reaped using flow. For example, look at these two processes. One is batch processing and the other is one piece flow. Why one piece flow? Because each worker is only having one piece at a time. So in this case, the inventory reduces from 18 items in batch processing to just 3 items. The processing time reduces from 13 minutes to 3 minutes. Single piece flow is also essential for just-in-time production. The whole idea of flow is to allow pull to happen. Pull system is to allow customers to pull value. The entire value stream works based on the pull of the customer. If there is no pull or demand, the production stops. Compare this with the push system where there is no method to know the real demand. The push method therefore leads to huge inventories and wastages. There is an interesting story on how pull system was conceived. Taichi Ono, Toyota's chief engineer, visited US supermarket. When he saw customer buying various products, he thought of it as many value streams being emptied by the arms of the customer. The flow of physical products pulled forward by the decision of the buyer. Once the pull is established, the journey of value from input to consumption is complete and the process is fixed. However, we can add one more element to the process to make it timeless. That is the fifth step, the pursuit to perfection. Pursuit of perfection in lean is based on the following principles. First is to empower people so that they can ask questions and suggest changes. Improvement must be measurable, standardized, and repeatable. And there is a belief that good processes create good results. In lean, there is a strong belief in Kaizen philosophy. Kai stands for change and Zen stands for better. So the philosophy is change for the better. Everything lean stands for can be summarized through the house of lean. A strong foundation is necessary for lean. This foundation is involvement of all stakeholders including management and employees. Stability and standards are must here. The goal of the system is customer focus, which is the roof of the house. product optimization and quality optimizations are the walls of the house which hold this roof. And all this is achieved by the heart of the system, which are flexible, motivated employees continually seeking a better ways of doing things. And finally, I'd just like to add why changing to lean is so difficult. Because it needs everyone's commitment. Thank you for watching the video.